Hi all my pummel people, welcome back to the channel. It's me, Only Run Very New, as you know, bringing you Bravo gameplay. But first, it's Friday, so it's time to spin to win this bad pummel token right here. And I mean bad in the best way possible, because this mother is bad. So let's not keep you waiting around too long to see if you won this thing. Let's get into this. So yeah, here we go. Come on, baby, let's go. Oh, Ice Stew, I'm so sorry. It looks like it is going to Danny Y. Vanzen. Sorry, I'm sure I butchered that. But yeah, Danny Yvanzen. Um, you can message me on Discord. My Discord is the same as my YouTube, Only Run Very Noob. Um, get me your address so we can ship this thing out to you so you can be pummeling people and letting them know before you even use the two resources. So yeah, let's get into the gameplay now. Alright, so today we're playing against Iyslander. This is a matchup I feel a lot of Bravos really struggle into. I do believe it's Iyslander favored, even if I feel like it's closer than a lot of people probably think. It's definitely a tough matchup. You got to be going over the top at least once a game. Like, I don't think you can just play like a slow sort of grindy value game and come out on top. I think there's only one, like there's two ways you could potentially approach the matchup. Uh, the way I like to do it is to be aggressive and go over the top as often as possible. Going over the top, of course, is like dominating a crippling crush or pummeling an attack. Whether you're pummeling a zealous belting, pummeling a rouse the ancients, pummeling a choke slam, pummeling a CNC. What's important here is that you're getting damage in and forcing them to discard, because Iyslander with under 3 cards in hand is not doing as much, right? Because with 3 cards, they're fusing Aether Ice Vein, or they're playing a Wounded Bull or Fiendal Fighting Spirit, along with being able to arsenal a 3rd card. Yeah, their 2-card hands can be pretty good, but if they only have 2 cards and they're sending like 8 value with one of their big attacks, it sort of gives you the room to take advantage of them not having an arsenal. And the other way is to like hard fatigue them. I'm not sure this strategy is like great into Iyslander. I feel like if they know you're doing that they can definitely just set up some sort of crazy Insidious Chill, Ice Eternal turn cycle that just kind of blows you out. But I think it's like sort of an effective backup plan once you've maybe um, gotten them to like block with Frostex and block with Ice Eternal maybe. It's a little dodgy though, and it's only possible if you have AB3. Like if you have AB2, I feel like they can just like chip in with Waning Moon and get you eventually. So I definitely like to go the more aggressive route. Win the die roll, go first against Iyslander. Don't give them a free turn to put a card in Arsenal or develop an Insidious Chill or a Frostex. Really, I don't think Iyslander should be playing Frostex into you. Like, it's in their deck, but they shouldn't be casting it. Because if you're on the aggressive tempo plan, it just kind of loses them tempo. But of course, if they go first and it's their opening hand, they get to just play it for free, and it will generate like a few points of value over the game, and also give them, you know, it kind of turns Ice Eternal into a threat when otherwise that wouldn't be like a huge threat. So you always want to go first. You could draw a Sigil and just like gain 3 life right off the bat. You can dominate an attack to get their life total fairly low. You can either tick up your tunic or like make a surge, which both can be quite good. And you get to put the card in Arsenal, which is, you know, we all know how good a 5-card hand can be over a 4-card hand. My sideboard plan is to sideboard out all the red defense reactions along with Spinal Crush. I feel like Choke Slam and CNC and Pulverize are slightly better than Spinal Crush. CNC being quite a bit better. Choke Slam just being a little bit easier to pummel than Spinal Crush. And you know, Choke Slam maybe takes away a point from Wounded Bull as well, which I don't think has ever lined up for me, but it's certainly something that can happen. It's really in the deck just because it's easier to pummel. With 2 blues, Choke Slam and Pummel, with either a Surge up or Tunic up, you can still pummel it through a Frostbite. Where the same can't be said about Spinal Crush. And the Pulverize is just something I'm kind of trying because I've heard that it's like fine. It seems a little scary because if they disrupt you and like make your hand small, you can definitely get this like stuck in Arsenal or something. But 14 is like a ton of damage. So just being able to throw it at Iyslander is probably like pretty decent. It takes up their whole hand. They have a significant number of 2 blocks in their deck, so maybe you just end up leaking some damage. And I am on Tech Plating. Let's see if we can find my equipment setup. Yeah, we'll click Iyslander and then pause here. So I don't have Tunic in the list. I kind of miss it, but I'm just running Tech Plating in AB3. So with Tech Plating, it's also a little bit easier to cast Pulverize, because you can just like make a Surge, and when the Surge pops, if they don't respond to it, then you can Pulverize them. Of course they can respond to the Surge, but if they do respond to the Surge, oftentimes you can just like plan out your turn that way and see what card they're playing from their arsenal that gives you a Frostbite. Maybe it's just like a Polar Blast where you know you're going to have to AB3 the follow-up Waning Moon, and then you can just like hammer or like make another Surge and hammer and keep the Pulverize, because a lot of times your Iyslander opponent's not going to know you have a Pulverize. They're not going to know just how valuable the Surge is to you. So that can be kind of interesting. I miss Tunic, but I'm running the Tech Plating in AB3 here. And we'll see how this goes. So our opening hand, we can't easily dominate an attack. We could dominate the Choke Slam, but then we wouldn't have a card in Arsenal, so that seems quite bad. Crippling Crush in Arsenal would be pretty good because we can like make a Surge and then Arsenal Crippling Crush and then dominate Crippling Crush next turn off 3 blues, barring any sort of Cold Snap or channel like Frigid, or them like developing an Insidious Chill on their turn and then on our turn fusing something from Arsenal, I guess. So I think I'm just going to pitch the Starstruck to make a Surge and then pass. I'm trying to set up a dominated Crippling Crush immediately. Here we see Tech Plating giving us the resource we need to dominate a Crippling Crush off 3 blues, like a turn ahead of where the Tunic would let us do it, which is kind of nice. I'm still learning how to use Tech Plating in this matchup because I have been playing with the Tunic for over a year in this matchup. I've been playing Tunic into Iyslander like basically since Iyslander was a deck, before they even played like Wounded Bulls. So definitely trying to learn how to use Tech Plating. As we'll see in this game, I'm not like great at using it. They just develop an Insidious Chill and then shoot us with Waning Moon. Thanks to the Surge, I do think I'm just going to AB2. I don't think I need the extra blue to get through this Crippling Crush dominated. And I don't have like a blue I don't want in Arsenal like Rouse the Ancients. Notably, Terra Sunder is not as good with Tech Plating as it is with Tunic, because Tech Plating Surge doesn't like reduce the cost of your hammer for when you Terra Sunder, so you kind of lose that as a threat. But yeah, we're just going to AB2, and then on our turn, we're going to let Surge pop, see if they do anything. They don't, so we're just going to dominate this Crippling Crush and be quite happy about it. When I talked about before, we really want to go over the top a few times a game. This is the exact kind of play we want to be making here. I'm sure they could have Sink Below and Arsenal and give us like Iron Rot, a 3-block, and Sink Below, but you know, your opponent gets to play the game too. So you just kind of have to do what you got to do. They play an Ice Bolt from Arsenal, and without them having Tunic up, that's kind of nice for us. I guess it doesn't really matter because they were going to discard it to Crippling Crush anyway, so they're just going to pitch a card and Waning Moon us. We're going to end up taking 5 because we had 1 floating, so we AB 1, take 5. They're going to end up blocking 3 or maybe even 4, it looks like, and then discarding their last card while taking a bunch of damage. Oh, you get to hear my bird clock here. And they're just going to pass the turn with full tempo, or giving us full tempo. Unfortunately, our hand isn't like amazing. Not 100% sure what I'm supposed to do with this hand. I think I'm just supposed to make a surge, activate Bravo, and dominate the Chokeslam. Just trying to leak as much damage as possible. Not sure I would want any of these blues in my arsenal. Like Macho Grande in Arsenal would be good if I had a surge, or it would be like fine, right? Not like good. It'd be fine if I had a surge. But I'd rather dominate to leak damage here rather than just throw a Chokeslam and have them block with multiple cards. Notably, maybe that's wrong though, because if they only can block with 1 card, they might only want to block with 1 card, because with an Insidious Chill up, of course, 3 cards could represent quite a bit of disruption from them. But I do like to get my damage in. So I just pitched the extra blue to make a surge instead of arsenaling one of them. Maybe Unmovable and Arsenal would be like reasonable, expecting them to play like a big attack at some point, but it kind of clogs up our arsenal. Blue Unmovable would have been good against its Wounded Bowl, but we might have been a little tilted here because we didn't draw enough blues to like actually play the Blue Unmovable, so it worked out okay for us. How are we blocking this? So we're almost certainly throwing Tech Plating in front of it. We just want to get our Tech Plating block where we can. They don't have a lot of on hits, so we just want to get the value out of it while we can. There's a small chance, but there is a chance they don't attack us that many times. Like they end up blocking with their attacks or doing something else with them, so we just want to get the value when we can. I kind of like just blocking with both Command and Conquers and the Tech Plating, and then on our turn, making a Surge with Debilitate and arsenaling Crippling Crush. The Surge letting us dominate the Crippling Crush off 3 blues on the follow-up turn. Also, making a Surge with the blue Debilitate leaves 2 floating, just in case they want to clear our arsenal and like shoot us for some arcane damage. We get to prevent a little bit of it. Another option is just blocking with Tech Plating and Command and Conquer, and letting Surge pop, seeing how they respond to it. And if they don't respond to it, we could make a Surge and throw CNC, hoping that if they don't respond to this Surge popping, they don't respond to us generating a Surge. And then we would still get our Surge and we get to Command and Conquer them instead of just like do nothing. That line might have been better than the line you're going to see me take, which is just block. Oh, I only block 6 because Wounded Bowl is turned off by Chokeslam. Wow, I said earlier I don't think I'd ever done that, but literally in the game I'm showing you here, Chokeslam lined up with Wounded Bowl. That's pretty that's pretty sweet, actually. Not so sweet from my memory, but pretty sweet to actually have it happen. Maybe that's more reason to just block with Tech Plating in 1 card and try to get away with making a Surge and throwing CNC. But as you can see, I just make a Surge here, looking to arsenal the Crippling Crush and have a big turn with the follow-up. They develop another Insidious Chill, which is a little scary. because they're going to get to keep 3 cards because we didn't threaten them at all here. Little unfortunate. We don't draw 3 blues, so we can't do our plan. They throw another Wounded Bull at us. This time it will be for 8, no Chokeslam. This one I'm almost definitely blocking with the Tech Plating. The last one I didn't because I decided just to block 6 from hand, and I didn't want to like block only 1 extra damage with my 2 block, right? This is an interesting turn cycle. I kind of do like just blocking 8 and then playing both sigils and passing. But we could also just block 2 and like take 6, see how he responds to the surge popping, and then just like throw Crippling Crush undominated. I don't feel like that's amazing, but it prevents him from using his Insidious Chills for a couple turns, and we get to like play a sigil and arsenal sigil. Not too sure. But as you can see here, I'm going to end up just blocking it out, and then playing our sigils on our turn, and kind of saving this Crippling Crush for when we can develop a surge in the future, or just keep a bunch of cards in hand to dominate it with like a 4-card hand or something. Again, we don't really have a hand that we can threaten aggressively, but we will be able to defend and send a hammer for 6. If we keep 2 blues, we could even like make a surge and hammer for 6, setting up our Crippling Crush. Oh, maybe not. We're getting hit with a Channel Lake Frigid here. And a Coronet Peak. I think I just pitch away the Pulverize to the Coronet Peak. And then he's going to Waning Moon us for 2. I wonder if I'm just supposed to take this 2 here. So then I can freely make a surge and hammer for 6 and not be afraid of a Frostbite, setting up the surge for the or for the Crippling Crush. That might be an interesting line. But I do just pitch the Starstruck here. Looking to just hammer for 6, pitching 2 blues, leaving 2 floating. A little afraid to make a surge off just 2 blues in case they respond with giving us a Frostbite. We won't be able to do anything with a follow-up. But maybe I am just supposed to make a surge here and sort of make them disrupt me. No, I think I like 6 damage here over the risky surge, but not too sure. They end up not having an ice card in Arsenal though, so our surge would have been very good. But of course we can't know that when it happens. Scar for a Scar with Go again. We have 2 blues, a Pummel, a Spine, and a Sigil with a Crippling Crush in Arsenal. With the life totals where they are, I kind of don't mind like trading. So I might just block with Tech Plating and see what his follow-up is here. Hoping that he can't keep around Channel Lake Frigid for another turn, but I think it would be very difficult for them to do that. Then they just E-strike me for 7. And I think I'm fine taking this 7 to be able to pummel them for 10 and gain 3 with Sigil. Kind of afraid to make a surge here though. But maybe I don't need to be afraid to make a surge. I'm really still learning how to use Tech Plating in this matchup. Maybe I play a little too safe, Because if I make a surge and they respond with a frostbite, like I can't pummel them, but I could still just like pitch the blue plus the... I could still like pitch a blue to hammer even and hold pummel and sigil and then sigil. I just wouldn't be able to pummel them because I'd only have one floating, not two. But having the surge would be very good for the crippling crush and arsenal, so I think that is probably what I'm supposed to do here over holding the pummel and being afraid of getting a frostbite. It's interesting. A lot of new stuff to think about with tech plating. Like it is not a simple swap over from Tunic. There's like a lot of decisions that I need to like figure out what I want, how I want to be playing them with the tech plating over the Tunic. They just throw a Wounded Bowl. Now here, I think I'm supposed to block 6, make a surge, and hammer for 6. But I know for a fact that that's not what I do. I just take the full 8, which is like a ton of damage to take, because I want to dominate this crippling crush and arsenal. But I think I need to play it a little bit slower and like not get my life total so obliterated here. Because I could easily just block 6, take 2, make a surge and hammer, and even through a frostbite, I can make a surge and hammer. But we do end up making a surge, activating Bravo, and then throwing the crippling crush. Hoping it's good enough to get a bunch of life, get him to discard a bunch of cards, and hopefully have a follow-up that is reasonable. So yep, they don't have a defense reaction arsenal, so they just give us the hand. They play a Scar for a Scar, which I'm quite happy to take, given our hand can activate Rouse the Ancients. And then we're just going to play Rouse the Ancients here and see how they respond. Looking pretty good for us at this stage. We should maybe be a little bit higher on life, but it is what it is. Because defense reaction from Arsenal. And here it's an interesting decision. They don't give me a frostbite, so I'm probably thinking I just want to hammer and then Arsenal the Command and Conquer, waiting for like another pummel or something. But because they have 2 Insidious Chills, I think I'm definitely supposed to Command and Conquer here. If I Command and Conquer here, they either lose their Arsenal, play their Arsenal, or give me 2 cards to block. And them just taking 6 and losing their Arsenal puts them to 1. And that's the only option that lets them keep 3 cards to activate their Insidious Chill. So I think that's definitely the play. It's not the play I make, unfortunately, but I think that's definitely the right play. Because a hammer for 6, they can just sort of take some damage, like block with 1 card and still keep 3. And if they start triggering these Insidious Chills, even though we seem very far ahead now, if they trigger these Insidious Chills like a couple times in a row, we could lose a ton of tempo and just not be able to get back in this game. As you see here, they play the Ice Vein from Arsenal, which is really bad for us and would have been really good to Command and Conquer them, because they reveal a Cold Snap and pitch Polar Blast, and they blocked with Fiendel's Fighting Spirit, so they even had a hand full of 2 blocks. Not that we can know that when we make the decision, but even without knowing that, I think Command and Conquering them is just the correct decision. They would have had to block with like 2 cards plus Coronet Peak or something. But anyway, we are here. We are going to have to pay 2 or discard 3 times. and take 4 damage, or deal with 4 damage somehow. So how are we going to deal with this with our hand? I think we're just going to take the 4 damage, pitch 2 blues, and then just throw Zealous Belting for 5. I don't think the 2 blues we pitch is too relevant here. They're at 4, so if we're getting back to pitch stack, it's probably really good for us no matter what our pitch is. It means they're just like blocking out. Oh, I have a Command and Conquer. I thought I had a Crippling Crush in Arsenal. Yeah, I have a Command and Conquer in Arsenal. So yeah, we're just going to pitch the blue, play the Command and Conquer, then Arsenal Zealous Belting, of course. I don't know why I was thinking just play Zealous Belting for 5. We do not have Crippling Crush in Arsenal. We're just going to prevent one of this 3 because we want the Zealous Belting in Arsenal. They do have to give us some sort of cards blocking this Command and Conquer. They only block with 1 card, going down to 1, which indicates to me they're going to activate Insidious Chill again, which is fairly unfortunate. It's too bad we don't have 3 blues. But now it's a red Ice Vein, and this game is definitely slipping away from us. So how are we going to deal with these Insidious Chill triggers and Ice Vein triggers with this hand? They revealed a Polar Blast. So I think I'm just going to discard both of my reds to the chill, pay 1 to AB1, with the 2 floating, pay the 2, keep a blue in hand, and then on my turn I'm just going to pass, expecting them to play this Polar Blast from Arsenal, pitching a blue presumably, and then they're going to Waning Moon us for 3, and then we're going to AB3 with our remaining blue. Hoping that we can withstand these Insidious Chills, hoping that they stop fusing for 1 turn, and if they allow us to Zealous Belting them from Arsenal on 1 turn, we can maybe get back into this game. But we are going to be at 11 life, which is a critical life point. They can deal 12 at instant speed with their Stormstriders. So being at 11 means we sort of have to keep 2 resources floating, unless we're at a point in the game where we can't play around them dealing 12 to us and just have to kind of go for it and make them have it. Now, we could just throw Zealous Belting out, because we know their arsenal isn't Emeritus Scolding, which is necessary for them to deal 12. We also know it's not a damage spell at all, so they can't even deal 11. Their Stormstriders can deal 5, their Waning Moon can deal 3, but their arsenal isn't a card that deals any damage. So maybe there's an argument to be had for throwing Zealous Belting or just hammering for 4. The problem is they could just block with armor. Like if we hammer for 4, they could even just give us all armor and keep like their whole hand. Not that they would. They'd probably just block 3 and give us a Iron Rod Gauntlet. If they had no armor and our hammer for 4 represented 2 cards they would need to block with, barring a defense reaction, like that's maybe an option. But I kind of like just preventing the 3 damage that we're pretty sure is coming here. Looking for them to not Insidious Chill trigger us. We do not get what we want. They do have the Insidious Chill triggers. And here I think I just have to prevent as much damage as possible, which means paying for these things. Oh wait, maybe I'm supposed to discard Zealous Belting to one of those triggers. Yeah, let's rewind a little bit. I could discard Zealous Belting to a trigger. I could pay 2 here. Then I could AB 3. AB 3, pay 2, discard this. So then I have 4 resources left in my hand. 2 of which will go to the Ice Vein, huh? Yeah, so pay 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I'll have 2 floating to prevent the Waning Moon that they're going to shoot at us. They have 2 cards left, so I'm fairly certain they're going to Waning Moon us with their extra card. So yeah, I think discarding Zealous Belting to one of these lets us have 1 more life at the end of this turn cycle. So this was another slight misplay. Or at least a slight misplay. I think a lot of my misplays this game weren't slight. They were fairly major, like not Command and Conquering them was a fairly major misplay. But we're at 8 with no cards in hand, so we're quite susceptible to just dying right here. They do have the Emeritus Scalding, which means they need any damage spell in their hand and they can kill us. Let's see if they have it. They haven't pitched one yet, so we don't know. And there it is. They activate Storm Striders, and I don't think they're going to do that to not kill us. So they do get there. That's the game. We take an L, but it might be a good thing we take an L here, because losses always hurt, and I think I remember my losses more than I remember my wins. And I think there were a lot of errors I made in this game that turned a win into a loss. And that can definitely happen against Iyslander. They can steal games out from under you, especially if you are not being efficient and you're not even taking chances. I tend to play very safe and play around things when I probably don't have to. Like that pummel turn, I think I could have definitely just made a surge. And if they give me a frostbite, it's like, okay, fine. But at least now I have a surge. I can still hammer them for 6. It just won't be for 10 with the pummel. And I'll have a surge with a pummel in hand and a crippling and arsenal, and I'll just gain 3 with the sigil. So I think that was sort of a gaffe, one that I would chalk up to me not being 100% comfortable with using tech plating in the matchup. But the other gaffe that's just like was really big and probably lost me the game on the spot was the Rouse turn, where I decided to arsenal the crippling or the Command and Conquer instead of play it. If I play the Command and Conquer, I just think they lose the game because they can't keep 3 cards to chain Insidious Chill triggers turn after turn after turn unless they go down to 1 right there, and I don't think they'd want to go down to 1 right there. They would have to, or maybe they would just be forced to go down to 1. But as we saw, if they went down to 1, they would have lost the Ice Vein from their arsenal. They would have only had like a Fandle's Fighting Spirit to clap back with, which would have been a lot easier for us to deal with, and it would have allowed us to keep some cards to threaten their life total. And at that point, if they're at 1 or like under 4 and we're threatening their life total, it'll probably be really hard for them to start triggering those Insidious Chills over and over and over again. So I think that was certainly a game-losing mistake. But yeah, hopefully we learned a little bit in this one. Sorry I didn't show you guys how to beat Iyslander in this game, but I think that if you dissect this game, you'll see a lot of spots where this loss could have been a win, and hopefully that'll help you in the future for your Iyslander games. So thanks for stopping by, and again, congratulations to the winner of the raffle. I know I said to contact me on Discord, but you can also leave a comment on this video if you want, and we can try to contact you or get whatever information we can from you, however would be easiest for you. Of course, I don't know if there's like YouTube direct messaging. If there's something like that, you can also just DM me there, and we'll try to get that token out to you ASAP. So yeah, thanks for stopping by, and until next time.